Live or die. Why do we circumcise when Allah says, I have created you perfectly? Sahil Sikandar. Upset with the little snip. It's like, Doctor Saab, Doc, no. Imagine if the doctor's got like, I don't know, like he's got Parkinson's. He's like, don't worry, we're just going to do a little snip. Okay. And he comes in with the scissors. He's got like the... You know what you should do as a prank? That would be an awesome prank, don't you think? If the doctor, you go for a circumcision and the doctor comes in with... Because don't worry, I've got it all under control. You see, this is... Circumcision in Islam isn't something mandatory, but it's recommended, really. It's a strong emphasis as part of the fitrah. Why is it part of the fitrah? It's actually very... it's more hygienic, and it kind of... it does support a more hygienic lifestyle. And the studies actually today scientifically demonstrate that. And some people have argued that it causes a slight numbness, as in it results in slightly less, like it results in a slight desensitization of the area, of the precious area. That said, obviously, we wouldn't know, because that's all we've ever known. So that's where we set the standard. So, but I don't think it's, I'm pretty sure the sensitization is pretty fine. But apparently people say that it ought to be more sensitive than it is for guys who are circumcised. But I mean, it does its job. That's the main thing. So, but circumcision is really just a health thing, and there's nothing wrong with it. Right, okay. It's in all religions. It is scientific. It is, and today you will see that even studies on circumcision demonstrated, for example, the transmission of diseases, for example. That when they did a study on circumcised men and uncircumcised men, when they were even exposed to such dangerous diseases like HIV, 50%, that's half the bloody applicants, half the bloody participants, half of the people, when it came to the circumcised group and the control group, the non-circumcised, that they were half likely to be infected. And that for some reason it wouldn't allow the transmission of the viruses and things like that easily. It would, but not as easily as those who weren't circumcised. And part of this is that, you see, what we probably don't realize as Muslim men is that with the foreskin, it's not just a skin, right? It is a skin, obviously. I mean, that's what it is. But beneath the skin, there's actually these kind of like tiny kind of like glands and things which excrete a kind of mucus. So it keeps the gland, the head, the chief of staff, it keeps that moist at all times. That's if you weren't circumcised. Obviously, we're circumcised, so we don't really have that experience. But for non-circumcised people, there's actually a kind of a gradual excretion of this kind of mucus. Okay, and so now that can result in a kind of build-up. But because of that, those glands that are with the foreskin, they are very susceptible to picking up kind of viruses and things like that. So that's one. I'm just saying today, this is something scientifically demonstrated today. You know, I remember reading this a little while back, all these kind of research, this kind of study, because I got into a debate with a friend of mine who works at Emporium Gym. He's an atheist. And we got into a discussion once about circumcision. And he said, well, you know, why, you know, this is, it's all nonsense and so on. And obviously we're joking and laughing. We have a good kind of banter between us. But I went away and ended up researching it. And I have to say, I was so impressed with, and this is from general data available, not Muslim data, general scientific data available. I was so impressed with what I came across and found that even if I was a non-Muslim and I wasn't circumcised, and I've read that, I would go and get circumcised. I'm serious, because I just read the amount of kind of benefits. I was like, wow, thank God that decision was made for us. But yeah, is it moral to force it on children as people do because of supposed health benefits? You see, I believe that this is a choice that the parents have. And yes, of course, I think that if you believe it, look, science demonstrates it definitely has. You see, if you had non-circumcision and circumcision, circumcision definitely outweighs from a health perspective and a hygiene perspective. Now the question is, should you have it? Now, within Islam, it is strongly emphasized as part of the fitrah. When we use words like imposing it on children, it sounds very kind of demonic and sounds kind of like draconian and like, oh my God, like my child doesn't want this and I'm like, I'm imposing this on you. It's not really, like, to me, that there's many decisions that a parent will undertake with the child. It's like saying, is it okay to impose chilies on your child in their cooking? Is it okay to impose? You know, like when we use words like this, they're loaded terms. So obviously, if I eat curries and I eat chilies, now I'm going to impose curry on my child. But you see, when we say it like that, you're making it sound like I'm sticking a funnel in the child's mouth and just pouring curry inside, and I've got them in some kind of like gulag or in some torture chamber. But you see, these words are just loaded terms. I think the better term is it okay to choose this for your child? Because is it okay to impose education on your child? Is it okay to impose education? Who said, like, just because we assume education is a good thing, arguably it is, but I mean, I'm just saying there's many people who haven't had a decent education, but they have far surpassed the educated people in productivity within this world, in achievements. There's many people who've become millionaires and they can't even write well. You know, there's many people who have become well established. There's people who've conquered immense parts of the world historically, and they couldn't read and write. Akbar, one of the greatest kings of India in his time, you know, he apparently couldn't read and write. But there's so many people who've done so many things and they didn't have a schooling per se. Is it okay to impose schooling upon your child? I think these words are wrong. I think it's always right for parents to make choices on behalf of their children up until their children reach a certain age of maturity that they can make choices themselves. It's like saying, is it okay to impose piercings on your children, on little girls, give them an ear piercing? Why? I mean, why not wait till they're 18? It just does, you know, the world, is it okay to cut their hair? Is it okay to clip their nails? Is it okay to, I mean, these things. So I think, although I understand you could say, well, the hair could regrow, but piercings are a reasonable example. I think imposing education, you can't undo that. Imposing certain discipline upon children, You can't undo the time spent. So I think, if that makes sense. But isn't it much powerful to have a circumcision before marriage? Is circumcision so-called condom before the what? What the hell is Abdullah on about? Is circumcision the condom? Right, okay, well, Abdullah doesn't get to teach sex education, people. There's all these unwanted pregnancies because Abdullah has been teaching sex education. It's like, don't worry, condom. We don't need family planning. We're circumcised. So Abdullah is thinking that if you're circumcised, you can't make anybody pregnant. And then he's got like 50 letters coming from the child support agency saying, Puttar, can you come in and bring your checkbook?